We don't believe that. Sorry, we're bad.
Yeah. Why is that? Why is that bad? Why? I mean, it's really insane. These people have lost their mind. And I like saying that all the time. They have lost their mind because they keep showing us that they've lost their mind. I mean, InfoWars is really at the tip of the spear. And we're seeing this tyranny going on. You know, Facebook is paying CNN to put out fake news. And then you have Facebook banning InfoWars. Does that make any sense to anybody? I mean, it's been millions of dollars getting Anderson Cooper to go on Facebook to push out fake news, which we all know is fake news. And it's completely okay because they're liberal. They're all happy here because we push the agenda that we want to push. And if anyone who goes against it, they're hateful. You're the ones that's being discriminative against us. I can't even get it out. You're discriminating against. Yeah, you're discriminating against us if you don't want to hate the same people we hate, or if you don't want to dislike the same things we dislike. Right now, this midterm election, I think the main reason why they're doing it is because they're afraid of losing their power. You have millions of people. Never before have you had millions of people saying they're walking away from the Democratic Party, and the Democratic Party is afraid. They're afraid of losing their power. And it's coming down the pipe. I mean, we see it. We see it happening. Now, do I think that the Democrats are going to completely lose themselves come this midterm election? No, absolutely not. But it would be a beautiful thing if they did. I would support it 100% because it's the Democratic Party that's been doing everything to people, not just black people, but to people in this country. And this whole Kavanaugh, but to people in the Kavanaugh. This attack on Kavanaugh is an attack on white men. Now, I did a video just the other day when I was talking about how the attack on white men in this country is going to intensify. I mean, simply, if you're a white male and you hold the door and you accidentally hit a female's hand by holding the door, she can call assault. He touched me. He hit me. He was trying to rape me. But then you have Keith Ellison. There's papers showing where he was physically abusing a lady. Me Too is nowhere to be found.
But that's okay.
And they say nothing. And it's okay.
He's a good liberal. Come on, Will Johnson.
Exactly.
Get with the program.
He's a good liberal.
You know, when we get back from break, let's play there. Speaking of Me Too, there's a Me Too commercial that they put out in support of Party Girl Ford. All right, so we're going to play that when we come back. I'm going to give out the phone number at the top of that break. Remind me, Will, if I don't. Let's take a few calls in the last segment here. You're watching The War Room. Thank you for joining us at Infowars.com/show.
Dear Professor Ford.
Dear Professor Ford.
Dear Professor Ford. We know how difficult it is to stand up to powerful people.
We want to thank you for publicly sharing your story of sexual violence.
As members of the Senate determine whether Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh
should serve as a Supreme Court Justice.
The Supreme Court Justice.
This context is critical.
The behavior you described was wrong.
wrong and runs directly counter to upholding the law and promoting justice.
He should not be confirmed.
He should not be confirmed.
He should not be confirmed.
Oh, go
We can
play
also
with
imagine
yourself.
how shocking and overwhelming it must have been
To have your truth shared on a national stage without your permission.
Fucking
You should be the decision maker
bitches.
about how your story is shared, if ever. We applaud your courage in coming forward for the public good.
And we will be with you as you face the inevitable backlash.
The inevitable backlash. The inevitable backlash. You're strong.
You are strong.
And you are not alone.
You are a survivor. A survivor.
A survivor.
And millions of us have your back.
You and your testimony are credible.
You and your testimony are credible.
You and your testimony are credible.
We haven't heard her testimony.
We believe you.
We believe you.
Signed, your sister.
We don't care if you're.
Signed, your sisters.
We don't care if you can remember any of the details.
Signed.
Well, that's sweet. I'm glad the sisters are coming together. Because I hope nobody ever makes up anything about them that happened 30 years ago, even though they have no recollection of it. No details. Wow.
Lying pieces of shit.
All right, let's go back to Will Johnson. Will, what'd you make of that?
Insanity at its fullest.
It would have been better, though, if they were all wearing their pussy hats, though. I mean, that would have just...
Yeah, you know. Yeah, you know, I'm surprised they didn't wear them. Yeah, I can't believe that. It's really interesting that they didn't wear them. Why? So they're doing this whole campaign trying to smear someone for something that might have taken place 36 years ago. You know, I have so much stuff that I've done 36 years ago. I'm not perfect, and if I did it, I would admit to it. But 36 years ago, you know how many things that people have done 36 years ago? I'm willing to believe, I'm willing to bet each one of those ladies that was in that video 36 hours ago did something they shouldn't have done, let alone 36 years. I guarantee it.
Before we go any further, here's something I have to do. I need to give out the numbers so we can start stacking up some callers, because I'm sure you want to get to some of those. 888-201-2244, 888-201-2244 is the number to call. You can talk to myself, Will Johnson, and we could try to get to the bottom of what's going on. And I will let you know, it sounds like Alex Jones is coming in. So about 6 o'clock, maybe 6:05, we are going to go live again. There will be another live stream. Now, the way to get to these live streams, if you're on our app, is be sure you have your bell rung on the notifications. You go on the InfoWars official app, you go to news, and the bell is on the right-hand side. Click that, and you'll get notified when we do go live, because we do put all these live streams in the context of an article. But Alex Jones will be covering this Rod Rosenstein revelations and more, and we do have the callers lining up. And we'll go to those in 1 second. But Will, there's basically what these women are saying is that if you can come up with a story, even though you don't remember actually what happened, I mean, and now the reputation of where this woman was brewed, essentially, okay, the soup that she was in was mixed with drugs, alcohol, sex, blackouts, just wanton abandonment, and it seemed to be okay from the adults because they were publishing this stuff in their freaking yearbook.
My brain's hurting.
I mean, who was on the watchtower
I got brain
looking after
food.
these kids? There it is again. The blender with the tequila and the beer. You could not put that in any yearbook anywhere except this overprivileged, elitist, wigged out society, which Christine Ford comes from.
Yeah, you know what, that's unbelievable. I mean, just looking at that, you know, if the kids today did anything remotely close to that, they would just, oh my God, what's going on? What's going on, kids? They're having fun. They're having fun. Oh, like we didn't do that when we were younger. Now, I used to live in Germany when I was younger. So having parties at that age, 36 years ago, was nothing out of the it was completely the norm.
Yeah,
it was nothing. We did it, and since I was living in Germany, where beer was free, not free, but it was not illegal. Well, it was.
I thought beer ran down like rivers through the land. Just dip it in.
In Germany, yeah, exactly. But when I was living in Germany, at the age of 14, I was buying beer. You know,
just trying to get my mind whipped into shape.
Take advantage of any females. Females took advantage of me. So maybe I should go back and find all of these females.
Turn them in.
Time when I was 14 and turn them in. Absolutely.
Hashtag me too. We got to me too. These women taking advantage of men.
Maybe we should do hashtag us too.
Women develop way earlier than men. Okay.
Yes.
When you in middle school, it's the girls that are talking about boys. Boys are just going about their business, just trying to figure out what the heck's going on and why stuff's happening to them. The women have already clued in on that, and they are looking for boys. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's human nature. Okay. Yes, we should set up guidelines and raise our kids right so they're not treating each other like pieces of meat. But you can just look at the excerpts of that yearbook that are not redacted. Can you imagine what's been redacted? I mean, it's always over their mouths. So it's like it seems like they're shoving things in their mouths constantly. I mean, it is just out of control. Out of control. Look,
is.
they're wearing Playboy bunny outfits. Playboy bunny outfits.
And this was during the same time she was accusing Kavanaugh of touching her mouth, covering her mouth up. And not actually raping her.
No.
Not actually going, to the part where he physically harms her. She's claiming that he put his hand over her mouth. So we have to say that's assault. That was rape. That was enough for him to say, I'm going to step down, or enough to hold it off until after the midterm election. They're crazy. They're crazy. Let me change the subject just a little bit. I want to talk about the InfoWars app.
All right.
Because the InfoWars app, I have it on my iPhone, my Apple iPhone, before they shut it down. So I have the app. And if anyone has the app before they removed it from the Apple Store, good on you. Keep it there as long as you can. There's actually an option within the iPhone app that you can go in and you can review the app. Give it 5 stars and put your reasoning why the app should remain there. I put mine in there saying this is freedom of speech. Freedom of speech should start when I don't like what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's where it should start. I don't like what you're saying, then that's where it should start. At least that's what it does for me. But if you have the app on your iPhone, go in there and review it, give it 5 stars, and put the reason why the app should stay and why the app should come back to the Apple Store. Because if they're gonna, if you're removing something simple as an app, freedom of speech, so people can express themselves, who's to stop the big government from coming down and shutting down Apple, which Apple's already working externally with some other countries.
Mm-hmm. That like to kill people for practicing different religions. Oh, but that's okay. It's Apple.
Right. That's okay because the big Apple. So go into the App Store, even on the Google, go into the App Store and review it. Give it 5 stars. Because that's one way the people can speak.
Yeah. And that's how you have to speak your mind now. Dump PayPal. Get rid of your PayPal account. They said this is permanent. They're done with us. Let's be done with them. Let's not do business with PayPal anymore. I'm dumping my account. All right, I got some callers coming up. I got Cindy in Rhode Island. I got Will in Mississippi, Benjamin in Florida, Jennifer in Illinois, and Marcus in Houston. I'm going to go to all 5 of you guys. Be ready with your point. Be ready to talk. We're going to go as quick as we can, try to get through these with myself and Will Johnson from Unite America First at UniteAmericaFirst.com, or that's Twitter, and UniteAmericaFirst.com. We'll be right back after this short break. Well, the InfoWars Army is in full effect. And here's a great example. Last night, Trump was in Las Vegas, and what do we see? Somebody puts up a free Alex Jones sign. Hashtag free Alex Jones. Let's give credit where credit is due. That was to @Hill Benjamin, Deplorable Hill, put that up. We could probably show his short video. I guess he shot a quick video, but part of the InfoWars Army. He is part of the InfoWars Army. And he said, Operation hashtag free Alex Jones at InfoWars Army is complete and accomplished. There it is. Thank you, Deplorable Hill, for doing what you do. And don't forget, tomorrow here in Austin, Texas, there's going to be a free Alex Jones rally hosted by Patriot Prayer. I know Will's close to Patriot Prayer. He goes to a lot of their events because they're on the West Coast. It starts at 1 o'clock at Woolridge Park, 900 Guadalupe, 78701. 1 o'clock tomorrow, 1 p.m. Central. Be there. Join us for the rally. And let's go now to Cindy in Rhode Island. We got a few more callers, too. Let's go to Cindy in Rhode Island. Since she called PayPal to cancel. Go ahead, Cindy. What did they say? Hi.
Yes, I canceled, and they didn't understand why I wanted to cancel. And he had no idea about, InfoWars. And I found, the freedom, the name of the place. I'm all nervous. I never did this before. But anyway, I told him that I buy vitamins and that PayPal will have nothing to do with this company because they believe they have hate speech. I said, but what does that have to do? I buy vitamins. And and I was trying to explain everything to him. He was very sympathetic, and then he said, well, he realized someone must have told him the name Alex Jones, and then he told me that Alex Jones spreads hate on gays and blacks, and I'm like, you've never heard him, you've never watched him. And I said, there are murderers out there, and this Apple company with, these poor Chinese people that have to have their children chained because they can't even take care of their kids because they're so busy working, and and there's all these terrible things. And he listened, and it was more like that Alex Jones, and I was very upset, and I even also said it was people like me and people that watch Alex Jones that help make PayPal, that help make Amazon. And, what do they do? But they deny us, they monopoly everything. And now we can't even have what we want, and I'm buying vitamins. What does that have to do with hate speech? What does that does it make sense?
Yeah, they don't need you now because they've built the platform. We've all come to it. We've used it over and over again. We made it successful. The people did. And now it's like, well, now we're big, we're corporate, we can do whatever we want.
Right. And then, I went on about Amazon, the same thing, and with Whole Foods, and they're not going to label GMO, they're going to do whatever they want because, you seem very liberal, but,
you sound like a Russian bot now. If you speak out against GMOs, you're a Russian bot. You see how it works? See how they can shoehorn you into that? Thanks for calling, Cindy. Appreciate it. Thank you for canceling PayPal. I hope you spent the balance at the store. I'm going to be spending whatever I have in my account because actually I never linked my bank account to them. I realized that during the break. I said, well, you know what? I'm just going to go find a business. I'm going to support them. Maybe I'll buy some stuff at the InfoWars store. And then I'm done. I'm done with PayPal. I'm going to cancel the account and it's going to be it. That's it. Go ahead, Will.
It's great. There's other services that you can use.
Yes.
And you were talking about that earlier. You just go on Twitter and look at the hashtag remove PayPal
dump
or
PayPal,
leave PayPal, dump PayPal. Yeah, sorry. If hashtag dump PayPal, and you can find the other services out there. So I'm going to do that as soon as I get off of here with you. I'm going to go look and see it at some of the other services because if PayPal's going to do this, and I'm going to call PayPal myself as well, and I'm going to record the call. I'm going to record the call when I call them and ask them to say, I can't do business with you any longer because you're shutting down access to InfoWars, which I do a lot of business with myself. I buy products from InfoWars. I buy the Brain Force from InfoWars. That's for me, that's one of the best products you could ever buy. The Brain Force and the Brain Force in the InfoWars store. I love it. It works like beautiful. But anyways, I'm going to call them and I'm going to tell them the exact same story. I love the story from the lady that just called. It's beautiful.
No, people need to record these and put them online so we can hear what they're going to say. Because, my script here says Alex Jones racist. So he's a racist. He spreads hate. I have it here on my script I read from. So sorry for your trouble. Robots, that's what we're dealing with. No offense to the people that work at PayPal, but, you're working for tyrants. And that's the way it is. Let's go to Benjamin in Florida. Wants to talk about censorship of InfoWars. Go ahead, Benjamin.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. Okay.
My thoughts regarding the censorship of InfoWars and Alex Jones is that I think that the left is sending a really bad message, which is that if they don't explicitly state it, but implicitly it's stating that you all are too rational to actually debate them, because if you were actually as insane as many of the far left people say you are, it would logically be pretty easy to debate you, correct?
Exactly. They could come at us with truth and logic, and we could have a debate, and then they would beat us if they were right. But they're not in the right. They know that. So they have to go, shut up, you can't talk.
And I see it's especially problematic because, I live in a college town, and I'm sure that if I walked into just some random gender studies class, I'd probably see a professor talking about how great socialism is, or how great communism is.
Or how to hate men. Why you should hate men and the patriarchy and whatever else they're going to make up. Yeah, exactly. But it's okay for them to do it. See, it's okay for those groups to have hate, But if you're a white man, you can't speak out against anything. You have to be like, well, I'm for throwing gays off buildings. That's what I'm for. And I'm for treating women like slaves. That makes me an Islamist, and I should be able to get to do what I want. I guess at that point, then they're like, yeah, now you get to do whatever you want. You just have to bow down to Islam. Radicalism.
And I just find it very problematic that it's like, okay, I don't even think the communists should be banned from speaking because, I mean...
Because we can defeat them in a debate.
We can defeat their ideas in a debate, but I'm just saying like this, why would we want to ban them whenever... The better thing I would think for a liberal is that if they really want to go take it to their logical ends, would be to go find whatever their best intellectual for their liberal causes and have them actually have some kind of scholarly debate with Alex Jones or someone from InfoWars.
Those are great points, Benjamin. Topic. Great points. I got to let you go. I got two more callers I want to get to. Will Johnson, do you ever like try to silence people, or you debate them, right, when you're out in the field?
No. I love debating them. I love talking to them. A lot of times they don't want to talk to me because they get frustrated because they don't have any valid points on anything. They can't come with any facts. They come based on feelings. Well, I feel this way. I feel that way. That's what your feelings are irrelevant to all of it. What are the facts? That's what we should be dealing with, but they don't deal like that.
Exactly. We got 2 minutes left. Let's go to Jennifer in Illinois. Go ahead, Jennifer.
First of all, there's no way that lady is telling the truth. Too many conflicts of interest, right? With her employer, all those research papers.
Her donations. Her past with her parents.
Exactly. Second of all, I think exactly. And I wonder if we're at the point now where we have to question, is Donald Trump playing us? He ran on Drain the Swamp. He ran on Lock Her Up. Why is it that Robert Mueller has not been fired?
Well, I'll tell you why. They would go for impeachment at that point. They would say, oh, that's it. He doesn't want to be investigated. He's trying to be a tyrant. So they blocked him in a corner. And if you look at these Project Veritas videos, you imagine if there's one of those type of people that's with the Democratic Socialists, there's probably hundreds more inside these organizations actively working against him. He's literally a man with no allies right now, fighting against the deep state. I'd love to talk to you more, Jennifer, and I agree with you. I wish you would do more. I wish you would go on the offense more. I got 50 seconds. Marcus in Houston, go ahead. You got 20 seconds. Go for it.
Hey, good to hear from you again, Rob Dew. And, man, I got to make this quick. Warriors, we have to ignite. We have to get out in the streets. We have to do these signs. You hear Owen's frustration. You hear Alex's frustration because the attack is on us now. I wanted to make the suggestion, just like the Breitbart truck attack list.
Hey, hold on, Marcus. I got to let you go. You're getting complicated. Will Johnson, where can people find you? There it is. Facebook. Will Johnson. He's a free thinker. He got to be booked in jail. There it is. Free thinker. That's great. Will Johnson's going to be at Politicon this weekend. You can follow him at Unite America First. You can follow me at News News. Thanks for watching The War Room. Alex Jones is coming up soon.
It's now only 50 days out from what undoubtedly will be the most historic election in world history. Getting Trump in was only the fluke. It was only the beachhead. You see, the globalists hope it was a fluke. It really wasn't. Populism and nationalism is exploding across the globe as we speak. Thanks for joining us on this live Sunday, the 16th day already of September 2018. I am Alex Jones, your host. And let's get battened down here. Batten down the hatches, because we'll have the latest hurricane news as it deluges the Carolinas in record floods, obviously. But the big flood is the diarrhea of the mouth coming out of the reanimated corpse, the perfect rotting edifice of the corrupt Democratic Party. Joe Biden refers to Trump supporters as dregs of society. The video's up on Infowars.com. But then it gets better. Oh, it gets better. He talks about the men in white hoods with torches are coming. He's talking about the Democratic Party. And the Republicans want to have the KKK enslave black people. I mean, it is unbelievable. But this is the guy they have planning to run against Trump in 2 years. I mean, look, Joe Biden looks like a dead body that Frankenstein electrocuted and that stood back up on its hind legs. So we'll be playing all of this coming up today and a lot more. Our favorite socialist dingbat, when she's not caught out wearing $3,600 outfits, says she wants $40 trillion of free stuff for the American people, even though the entire global elite themselves don't even have $10 trillion. They're the ones, by the way, backing her. But when she was confronted even by liberals that, well, there's only, $2 trillion out there in discretionary money, she just said, well, I don't care what you say. We're going to do it anyway. So that's amazing video. But let's get to this first piece. Then I'll play the larger piece when we come back from break. This is Joe Biden jumping the shark, going further than saying just that Trump supporters are deplorable. No. He says Trump supporters are the dregs of society. Have you looked in the mirror at the poor, sad saps conned by the Democrats? I mean, they are the dregs. And then the scum of society, the worst, the Count Draculas of society, are ruling over this throng of pathetic slaves. Here he is.
Despite losing in the courts and in the court of public opinion, these forces of intolerance remain determined to undermine and roll back the progress you all have made. And this time, they, not you, have an ally in the White House. This time, they have an ally. They're a small percentage of the American people, virulent people.
You fucking seditious,
some of them the dregs of society.
Little bastard.
And it's
boom, motherfucker.
The full might of the executive branch to secure justice, dignity, safety for all. The president uses the White House as a literal bully pulpit, callously exerting his power over those who have little or none. Some of you in this room may be fortunate enough to live in cities or work for companies or protected by law or by policy, with privilege and access to defend yourselves and your families. But across the country, too many of our fellow Americans lack those basic comforts. And that's especially true for young people. Many of you are familiar with the Trevor Project and the
well, this is just total loads of bull if you know the facts. I mean, Trump's bringing the prosperity for everybody. These guys suppress it on purpose. Look at blue cities they run. Hellholes of degradation and pain. It's all coming up on this live global transmission. Infowars.com, newswars.com. Spread those links or you don't have any hope against these horrible bloodsuckers. It's Sunday, September 16, 2018. I'm your host, Alex Jones. We're here every Sunday, 4 to 6 p.m. Central. We're back weekdays, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. and all the other great live broadcasts we have that simulcast on AM and FM stations, TV, cable around the country. I saw the new talking point over the weekend from CNBC, Reuters, CNN. After the fall of Alex Jones, the rise and fall of Alex Jones, we have a bigger audience than we've ever had. I've got our own internal numbers. I've shown the videos just a week and a half ago on Twitter before they banned that look, here's Google Analytics, record traffic. But they want that perception that if you don't go along with the globalists, if you don't go along with open borders or gun control, you're not going to get an admission to college. You're not going to get a corporate job. You're not going to have any access online. You better submit. So they're trying to bully the American people. And now it's come out. The tables have been turned. Think Progress, another George Soros funded fake news outlet, gets censored by Facebook fact checkers. Stories up on Infowars.com, got picked up by a bunch of publications. And here they are calling for me to be banned just a few weeks ago and celebrating it. And then they're like, how dare Facebook censor us, saying that, Kavanaugh said that he wants to overturn Roe v. Wade, which he never said. And so they had the neocon outfit, Weekly Standard, come, and they're now part of the fact-checking group, along with the Southern Poverty Law Center and Media Matters and George Soros' groups. and Snopes, famously fake. So that's the group that lied about WMDs in Iraq. That's the group that was never Trump. That's the group that has been involved in so much corruption, headed up by Mr. Kristol, whose father was the head of the Trotskyites and the famous communist, worked for Leon Trotsky. That is one of the worst groups you could have. But of course, they've got the Democrats coming in and censoring. And now we've got to have token conservatives from the Weekly Standard, who are even worse than the Democrats in many cases, warmongering neocons. And they'll be the new superclass that decides what's real and not. And so they'll just remove it off Facebook and then give a warning to Think Progress that if you do this anymore, we may ban you. Think about that. A ruling Republican, Democrat, blue blood establishment that decides who and who can't post and what's real and what isn't. Oh, there'll be no one fact-checking Weekly Standard or CNN, even though Anderson Cooper got caught standing there up to his chest in a creek, claiming he was amongst flooded houses with his crew all standing around him on dry ground, or the Weather Channel with the guy being blown everywhere and people just stroll right past him like it's no big deal. We all know what's fake. We can make our own decisions. We can smell the truth, as Tucker Carlson says. So let it all rise or fall and let the people decide. Don't have fact checkers, failed CNN, failed New York Times, failed Weekly Standard that loses money every month. Don't have them as the new superclass that is up there deciding what you can and can't see. Let us see it all. But see, we're not being banned and restricted because InfoWars is a lie. We're being banned and restricted because what we're saying is the truth and is viral and is infectious. And here's the key. They want to remove us off air so that they can then lie about us and say whatever they want by building a straw man and going to the ring, go to the arena and beat us up. And then we don't have a chance to respond. If you want to see the article, we'll pull it up from Infowars.com. Anderson Cooper caught in massive fake news. Anderson Cooper caught in deception of the American people. Anderson Cooper caught in major performance art. Can't they even report on the weather accurately? Can't they even do that? And the answer is no, they can't, because they're all about deception. They teach in journalism school how to lie now. Remember Gruber said he was hired by Obama to lie to people, and Obama admitted it. And he's up there at university giving speeches to graduate students about how to be a better liar and how to deceive people. And they're all rubbing their hands together like he's God. So the fact that they've gotten away with so much to them means, well, Trump only got in because we didn't lie enough, you see. But they can't have the real fact checkers out there like InfoWars. They can't have us there because then it calls them on their lies. They want to, as a big corporate massive group, lie to us en masse and not have anyone be able to oppose it or respond to it in any way. Now, we come back from break. A lengthy Joe Biden speech that tells whopper after whopper after whopper. And I'm going to try to just get to a few clips of it and just analyze the lies that are there. But it is like the worst around the fire stories you're trying to tell when you're out camping with your dad and your grandpa, and they try to scare you when you're 5 years old, and they go, let us tell you the story of the headless ghoul that rides through this area of Texas. Oh, he's got big red eyes and big long fangs, and he's got a forked tail. And just legend has it, near here a few years ago, he grabbed some kids during the night. He's up there going, they ride on horses with white hoods, burning torches, and Trump wouldn't stop them. They're the KKK. I mean, it is the most ridiculous lies when it's the Democratic Party and the Republicans that passed the Civil Rights Act. Martin Luther King was a Republican, but the public doesn't have history, so they don't know. That's all coming up in the next segment. And Matt Drudge warns of midterm bloodbath. Trump to lose 60 seats in the House like Obama, unless. We'll give you the unless. We've got Cortez on how she'd pay $40 trillion for socialist programs with $2 trillion falling flat on her face. We've got the New York Times and others now saying that, again, Obama gets credit for the economy, but since Trump's getting credit, let's just change how the numbers are looked at. Hollywood celebrates Paul Manafort guilty plea. Checkmate, F you Trump. But he's pleading guilty on not paying taxes 15 years ago. So where's your Russiagate? See, it's not that now. We're also going to look at young girl raped by 100 Islamic men. You'll see how the mainstream media spun that and so much more here today. And we also have an amazing report from Millie Weaver. Democrats are desperate for black vote, but they're not getting it, and that's why they're so scared. Another key report as well. When I had Eric Bolling, formerly of Fox News, now it's CRTV, here in studio last week, he said, you know, how dare you say there were bombs in the buildings? How dare you say that? And I said, Eric, I have clips of Trump saying it. He said, I want to see them. We were 5 minutes towards the end of the show, and I said, I'll make a special video for you, and then we'll air it, then I'll send you that video. So we're going to premiere it here tonight, start of the next hour, and Roger Stone's all big exclusive news. And then I'm going to put it up to Infowars.com on our own video feeds, and we're going to send that out to Mr. Bolling. He's a good guy. He means well. He's a Boy Scout, and he's an economist. And he just can't believe where I get this stuff that I heard that day there were bombs in the buildings. Now maybe that's not true, but the media attacked me and said it never happened. I talked to the police that said, no, the feds were inside Building 7 and said, get ready. They had a 10-second countdown and blew it up. And guess what? On PBS, inadvertently, they had the video of the countdown and 7 being blown up. So you're going to see all that. It's a 6-minute video. We got a 15-minute one coming out Tuesday. So I'm just going to show you why I question. Doesn't mean I don't think Islamic terror is real. None of that. It means we've been lied to, and there's a criminal alliance bipartisanly with radical Islam that needs to stop. Infowars.com. Newswars.com. You know you're listening to the #1 most banned broadcast in the world. Why is it? Because we tell the truth, we love America, and we love freedom, we're not backing down. So, we always hear that Trump is this really mean person. He wants to shut down free speech. But he's not calling for shutting down anybody's free speech. It's the mainstream corporate media that wants all conservatives, all libertarians, all Christians, all veterans groups banned off the internet. We've got U.S. Senators Wyden and Warner and Murphy saying Alex Jones is only the beginning. Get rid of thousands. Get rid of Rush Limbaugh. We have the Federal Election Commission persecuting anybody that donates to Republicans. We have the IRS going after churches and Christian groups. We have a reign of terror and bullying going on. But then we've got Joe Biden with all of his corruption and protecting Bill Clinton, who protected al-Qaeda, and then supporting the Arab Spring under Obama and Hillary, and Uranium One and the KKK background of the Democrats, saying that he wants to pick a fight with bullies, meaning Trump and their supporters. No, you're the ones beating us over the head with bike locks, throwing coffee on us, shooting Congressman Scalise, calling for Trump's overthrow, calling for the economy to be destroyed so that we can stop Trump. That's the Democrats. But now he says we're the dregs of society. Let's look up the definition of dregs. It means winos, drug addicts, pickpockets, thugs, child molesters, murderers, ex-convicts, the lowest of the low. The remains of liquid left in a container together with sediment or grounds, the most worthless parts of something. The crap inside intestines. You can take pig intestines and make chitlins. You got to clean out the crap, boil the guts, and then fry them. I've had them. It's a Southern dish. But the dregs would be the guts. You'd throw out the dregs. So if you go to a Democratic Party function or a liberal event, they look like they're dead. They look like they've been beaten in the head with a baseball bat. They stumble around. Most people can hardly talk. And I don't feel powerful when I see a group of Democrats. I feel sorry for them. And that's why they're really censoring conservatives and nationalists off of Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. Because we would all, even under censorship, we used to have videos with 30, 40 million views. Under censorship, routinely 1 million, 2 million views. Going out and just pointing a camera at a crowd of Democrats with the F your mother, white people are monkey subhumans. You know, we're going to kill you. And then you go to the next person and the next person and the next person and the next person and the next person, and they all sound like something out of a Hellraiser movie. So when he calls us dregs, think about the projection that Joe Biden's involved in, because Hillary in the WikiLeaks calls her supporters worthless, dumb, stupid, baristas that want something more from her when they're lazy, living in their mom's basement, close quote. Trump says, I want to get you out of your mom's basement. I believe in you, whether you're white or black. And you see him try to move us an economy back and have a culture of working, and they flip out and say, he's a loser, he's a crazy man, he's the worst thing since gonorrhea. So let's start going to this Joe Biden piece. Joe Biden refers to Trump supporters as dregs of society. Here he is.
Have an ally. They're a small percentage of the American people, virulent people. Some of them the dregs of society.
So there's your dregs of society clip. Now let's go to a larger clip where he talks about the KKK riding through the night with burning torches, and they're coming to get you, like they're telling ghost stories to little kids, and they're the people that hate you if you're gay, and they're the people that hate you if you're black. But here's the good news. Americans, no matter what color they are, where they came from, are figuring out that the Trump economy is a lot better, that the establishment is against Trump. So let's go ahead and start going to this.
Already supported gay marriage. But this onslaught that we're seeing does require us not only to be vigilant, but be more aggressive and demand more of our leaders who represent basic American values of respect, decency, equality, giving hate no safe haven.
Pause. Giving hate no safe haven. That means anything they define, the Second Amendment, the nuclear family, saying he or she, being banned in the U.S., Canada, Sweden, being masculine, being feminine, whatever they want to define as something they want to attack, they say, don't give your speech safe haven. Believe me, we know, bullies, you're not giving speech a safe haven. Let's continue.
We hold these truths self-evident. All men are created equal, endowed by their creator. Sounds corny when you say it. But the American people, basically in their gut, we've never met it. But that's the aspiration, and they're not giving up on it.
Let's pause again. It's true that those great ideas have never been met, but the idea of meeting it has brought us further than many other nations. In fact, probably more than anybody. The American system. So why are we the bad guys? Why do we have to be the Nazis? Why do we have to be the evil folks when our history doesn't show that? But again, this is coming to you from the Democratic Party and somebody that literally was under Senator Byrd, who was a Grand Dragon in the KKK and the Democratic Party. But he thinks you have no memory. Let's continue.
You know, Barack and I agreed to remain silent for a while to give this administration a chance to get up and running the first year.
Hey, pause again. Back it up 10 seconds. They were never quiet through their surrogates. It came out in all the different documents and lawsuits and FBI files that the Democrats, led by Obama, Hillary, and others, have been orchestrating the fake PP-Gate dossier. They've been launching the attacks on Trump. They've been trying to block everything. Oh, but they gave him a chance. They tried to make him succeed. The media, the Democrats, gave Trump that honeymoon period that every other president got. No, there was no honeymoon period. They tried to keep him from getting his delegates. They tried to keep him from even becoming the president. They tried to riot and block the entrances to his inauguration and then lied about who was there. Everything Biden says is a lie. Continue.
Not giving up on it. You know, Barack and I agreed to remain silent for a while to give this administration a chance to get up and running the first year. forgive me.
Oh, yeah, right.
But
Hear that
I
swamp?
could not remain silent after Charlottesville.
Treasonous, sadistic,
No,
son
I
of a
want to
bitch.
be deadly earnest with you about
You
this.
need
All right, let's
hung,
pause again. We're going to come
motherfucker.
back with the rest of this.
That is penalty for that.
Charlottesville, one woman run over. God bless her. By a crowd attacking a car, and the guy guns it and runs over her. And I point out that George Soros funded Antifa. The police stood down. You have the alt-right people who most of them used to work for the Democrats, clearly feds. You have this big production they do. Trump says both sides are bad. Antifa's bad. And I think KKK type folks, KKK light's bad. But he said it's Antifa that attacked, which is totally true. And then, oh, this is their big thing. This guy funded the Arab Spring that killed millions of people. Biden, his son, runs part of Ukraine, all the stolen natural gas there. He's a monster. But he sits there and says America's ethos is the KKK. No, it's your ethos. So Joe Biden came out and he went beyond saying that Trump supporters are deplorable. He went on to basically, well, I mean, here's the exact quote, the dregs of society, which we already played. So getting back into his speech, he talks about the KKK riders and their hoods in the night. And like they're galloping like you're in the woods, and here comes the evil rider to get you. Total fear-mongering. And is it lost on society, the Democrats were the party of the KKK? Is it lost on everybody that they're the ones creating racial division in America at every level? And again, it's even in their own WikiLeaks that they want to create racial division to control people, because they're not going to give you jobs. They're not going to give you a future like all the blue cities. They're going to give you poverty. They're going to give you enslavement. They're going to give you being domesticated. The good news is you look at the Democratic Party, they're led by Nancy Pelosi, who can hardly talk. They're led by Joe Biden, who looks like he was a dead body at the morgue that somebody hooked electricity up to, that was reanimated for the speech. And he's spewing all the same old garbage. And so that's the good news, is that people are sick of this and they're tired of it and they see through it. But Joe Biden is still a clear and present danger, because he's not going to ever stop until he realizes that you're not buying into it. Because as I said earlier, when they overthrew Ukraine, George Soros 5 years ago, his son took control of the $10 billion gas company that comes out of Russia. And he now makes hundreds of millions a year, his son. That's an example of the criminal looting. They're not going to stop till the last minute, because they're stealing the whole time. That's why they're never going to back down. They're never going to give up. And they're also like cornered rats. So there's no end to what they will do now. They are so dangerous. They are so evil. Let's continue.
That's why I wrote an article for Atlantic Magazine entitled "The Battle for America's Soul," because that's, and I don't clap, or you can boo if you want, but don't clap. But I'm serious. I'm serious. This is about basic decency. The idea that goons could come out of fields at night with lighted torches, carrying Nazi flags, chanting the same exact anti-Semitic bile that was chanted in the streets of Nuremberg and Berlin.
Let's hit pause again. Look at how he drools the same anti-Semitic bile that was chanted in the streets of Germany. When it was George Soros who was the Nazi collaborator and is the main funder of the Democrats, when it's Juncker, whose family was the richest family in Germany as Nazis, who run the EU today, that was a Hitler plan, when they're the ones using racial division. But they've got it set up in Hollywood like, if you're American and you're pro-freedom and you're pro-Second Amendment and you're pro-free market, you are a Nazi. And now you saw where a guy at the Coast Guard headquarters, being pro-Trump, did this sign, and they removed him, fired him off the job. And the Coast Guard apologized for the Nazi sign. Well, I say that the Apple sign, which we're getting rid of in the company, because it's so fascist working with China now, I say it's a sign that supports China that kills more people than Hitler ever did. So I say I don't want to see the Apple sign, because to me it's offensive. But see, that's not going to happen. Plus, I don't want to get rid of symbols. They just want to be able to say whatever symbols they want are evil and remove whatever they want, because they're at war with language. Because tyranny is something that isn't popular and people don't want it, so they have to sabotage it. Let's go ahead and go back to Joe Biden.
Carrying Nazi flags, chanting the same exact anti-Semitic bile that was chanted in the streets of
And I forgot, all three of the leaders worked for Obama within 1 year, Hillary. And then they all suddenly went from being big university operators with parents in the Democratic Party, some of them intelligence groups, to going out marching around with torches, dressed in 1930s outfits, so that people think Nazis are invading. And how many times has the Southern Poverty Law Center and ADL and others been caught posing as Nazis? How many times? I got a stack of news where Muslims have been caught in the U.S. and Canada this week staging attacks on themselves that they did. Let's go back to Joe Biden.
in Berlin and every other German city in the 30s. It's serious, guys. So hush up. This is deadly earnest.
Yes, the Nazis are here.
We are in a fight for America's soul. And we have leaders who at the time when that occurred, when these guys were accompanied by white supremacists and Ku Klux Klan and those who objected, making a comparison saying they're good people in both groups. What has become of us? Our children are listening. And our
boom, motherfucker, you deserve to die.
Our silence is complicity. You know, Trump
I'm sorry, that guy pisses me off.
From Homeland Security, who had agents there, and they said, sir, it was some reporters on both sides, some pro-peace people on one side, Antifa's bad, and then some Nazis on the other side that were bad. So Trump goes, well, the Nazis were bad, so was the Antifa was bad, and there were good people on both sides as well. That was given to him in the briefing. You had a bunch of people out there to cover it, a bunch of peace people, a bunch of right-wing pro-free speech people, and then you had some Nazis and some Antifa that, yeah, I think we all agree are unsavory folks. But that's how this works. Well, good job of the crew. They actually found the photo. I remember that, of Trump being briefed on Charlottesville. He didn't know what it was. He went and said, what is this? They said, here it is, sir. So he went out there. But imagine in America, the communist Chinese have killed 100+ million people. They've done that. Their own people, never a word about them, never about Apple and slave factories and suicide nets, never about Google helping round up political dissidents. It's all about America and Nazis and Charlottesville, and the people with torches, all 20 of them, are coming to get you, and you better do what Joe Biden says or the Nazis will get you. This is how stupid they think you are.
We is stupid.
And really what it was the art club from a couple local universities with guys that get Southern Poverty Law Center money coming out in court, who just all dress up like Nazis to go scare the hell out of everybody and go after Trump. That's what the left is. They're a drama club. They are thespians. They are actors. It's what they do. It's what they constantly get caught doing, and they don't want us to know that. Anderson Cooper stood in water up to his chest in a ditch to say the houses were flooded when they weren't. The Weather Channel was being blown all over the place. People calling behind him. It was fake. It's what they do. They are the fraud. And they don't want you asking questions. They don't want you talking about it. They want to put out their fake info and have you go into suspended disbelief and have you believe that it's all real. But once somebody's awake to a scam, they never go back. And that's what they don't get. There is going to be a big, giant red wave. The question is, will the seawall of the Democratic Party, be able to build a big enough wall to block that seawall with election fraud and the rest of it? I'm going to keep fighting to the end regardless. I don't know if you are, but I sure as hell am. I'm conscious. I'm not dead yet. Alex Jones back live, broadcasting worldwide. I want to get into what's happening right now with the attempt to confer Brett Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court, and how they float this whole thing about 35 years ago in high school, he might have jumped on top of a girl at a drunk party. And now they've got the person going public. I have personally experienced mainstream media go out and offer people money to lie about me. And when you see it in print, you know how criminal these groups are. And the fact that Democrats believe it's their duty to go out and make things up. When you see something like this, it doesn't hold any water. In fact, we're going to get to it here in just a moment, but it's amazing the lengths to which this stuff will happen. And maybe this woman even believes it. We're going to get to that here in just a moment. But first, it's important to understand that I'm not really worried about me being deplatformed off of 90-plus platforms now. I'm concerned because it's concerted and it's corporate and it's being done to many, many other people in unison. And by them picking InfoWars out to do it and building a straw man, it distracts from the fact that it is monopolistic, it is racketeering, it is very, very dangerous what's going on by any yardstick. And the addled, tepid, sluggish, sloth-like response by the Republicans is horrifying. I haven't even gotten to this yet. We've got screenshots, and we've got IT people that gave us a report, and I'll put it out tomorrow, and it's an exclusive. But we actually had software that we used banned over the weekend. And I've talked to lawyers about this. This is definitely illegal, definitely racketeering. I mean, it's unbelievable. And it deals with Apple. And, you know, I'll try my best, because there's a target fixation that goes on in warfare where you'll get fixated on your target and then not even pay attention to what's happening to you. The famous case is people flying aircraft, strafing, say, a train or a truck, and they'll fly into the vehicle. They'll just keep and fly into it. And we got a great crew. They're great people. But it's kind of like, I learned about this on Friday, confirmed it with IT. It's the biggest story yet in our censorship. But see, just like the public's supposed to get conditioned to being censored and blacklisted and banned, by InfoWars being in tens of thousands of articles, they're supposed to wear us out psychologically. Finally, when they start doing stuff like killing the software we use, it's like, so what? Everybody knows we're getting banned. So what? They took Alex away and killed him too. You know, we knew it was coming. And it's just like that globalist told me that time off record. He's one of the heads of one of the big banks, it was the fourth largest bank at that time. He said, Alex, you're going to adapt to being a slave. People don't adapt to fighting it. He said, you will lose. And you know what? Maybe he's right. And then those of us that don't prey on you, we're the mentally ill ones. Because what the predators will tell you is, general public are just failed predators. And if you help them, they'll just tear you apart. But you know what? My soul tells me that's wrong, and I'm not going to act like that. It's very, very frustrating, to say the least. And what they're doing to us is so sick. All of it scientifically directed. So who knows? We may never even tell you. Hell, they might just shut us down. We won't even do an article. Hell, no one will. You know, by the time they actually shut us down, there won't even be a story. They take me out and shoot me in the back of the head. By then, it's like, that's old news. They're going into people's phones and killing programs that came with the phones, so you can't visit Infowars.com. But everybody still got their food. Everybody still can go home and watch television, so who cares? Exactly. Exactly. And that's why we fail. That's why we die. And I just watch us being incrementally enslaved, and I'm upset about it. And I'm supposed to see how that works and join it and farm you. I'm supposed to serve the globalist so I get life extension technology and I get cybernetic enhancement down the road. And I'm supposed to revel in how dumb you are. See? But instead, I get to be the bad guy because I'm trying to save you. Because I have some type of connection to you. It's beyond amazing. So people ask, you know, why is your broadcast banned? Why are they trying to ban it? Because of what we're covering, and because they're going to go ahead and make that move, and because they want to set the precedent. But I know this. I look at people that have decided to make these evil decisions, and they are the most unhappy, twisted, physically ugly people on earth. So let me tell you, metaphysically, culturally, and a gut level, I know not to join them. But the public needs to stand up for their own self-preservation. Now, this is funny for radio listeners, but it's really funny if you're a TV viewer at Infowars.com/show or on TV stations around the country. Because this is a piece that Drew and Savannah put together a month and a half ago, and our app went to #1 on Apple and on Android. And then after it went to #1, they just removed the Apple one that had 2 million downloads. The Android's still there at Infowars.com/app. But this is us making a joke out of what they did. But we knew the next move would be block Infowars.com at the browser level. And that has now begun. And Infowars will not be the one that breaks it. I'm going to let the enemy go ahead and do it now. No one cares around here. That's fine. I love it too. Great. Fun. Yeah. Close our doors. So we'll let the enemy break it. And let's see how it's a private company. You bought that phone. So they're blocking visiting Infowars.com on an Apple phone. That's what they're doing now. And it's cute and it's fun and it's neat and it's great. And so here it is. Here's the clip.
Hey guys, my name is Savannah Hernandez, and if you're always on the go like me, then you're not always tied to your computer or TV. So we just released our free Infowars official app. The Infowars official app includes all of our live broadcasts like War Room with Owen Schroyer, Real News with David Knight, and the holy grail of podcast and radio, The Alex Jones Show. And the best part about the Infowars official app is that every single time we go live, you get notifications so that you never miss a beat. So whether you're in the car or on a run, this app makes it easy to keep the Infowars right in your pocket. So what are you waiting for? Download.
Not so fast, Infowars. Apple banned your app. I help too. Oliver.
I hate free speech too.
We hate free speech. We hate free speech. We hate free speech. We hate free speech.
But I can tell you, millions download the app, then they take it out of the store. Congress does nothing. Well, that's so illegal. Next, they're going to go in and take the app off your phone. Next, they're going to block the Infowars RSS feeder on Apple, which they've already done. That's the breaking news. And just everything else. And see, by the time they get to the real censorship, the real extermination of freedom. It's just laissez-faire because you've already gotten yourself ready to accept that. And so, see, by the time you've done that, oh, it's like Think Progress is being banned. Well, okay, that's all right, too. You know, as long as the good old neocon boys over at the CIA do it, as long as, you know, because nobody reads the Weekly Standard, everybody hates them. So what's the power structure do? Oh, put them in charge of censoring the left. And the left won't defend the right won't defend the left, and then it's game over. Well, that's not the truth. We're winning, big red wave's coming, but folks have to really realize we're 2 minutes to midnight, and now is the time to get on your knees to Jesus. We'll be right back with the second hour. So, about 5 months ago, the EU introduced legislation to ban memes. Seriously, because their AI can't scan it, it doesn't get humor, so they can't censor it. And so they go, oh, it's copyright, it's got to be reviewed by the EU, or there's multi-million euro fines. And then now they passed it. So first the media said, oh, it'll never happen. Now, of course, it's happened. EU killing legislation that is designed to destroy the internet. Here is part of the report from John Bound.
EU Parliament recently put the internet, at least in Europe, on a path towards certain corporate Orwellian doom.
This discussion is bedeviled by all sorts of artificial media twit storms and hysteria of one kind or another. There's a very good argument against the lack of democracy in the EU.
Isn't it funny? You know, when I came here 17 years ago, and I said that I wanted to lead a campaign to get Britain to leave the European Union, you all laughed at me. Well, I have to say, you're not laughing now, are you? The main reason the United Kingdom voted the way that it did is you have, by stealth, by deception, without ever telling the truth to the British or the rest of the peoples of Europe, you have imposed upon them a political union.
Article 11, also known as the link tax, forces anyone linking an article of more than one word to a news story to pay for a service that licenses the article. That news site can, according to The Verge, charge anything they want for the right to quote them or refuse to sell altogether, effectively giving them the right to choose who can criticize them. While Article 13, also known as the upload filter, requires all but the smallest platforms will have to defensively adopt copyright filters that examine everything you post and censor anything judged to be a copyright infringement, according to the Electronic Frontier Foundation. And if that wasn't enough to bring the free flow of information to a grinding halt, typical social media posts like a selfie taken at a football game have been targeted by Article 12A. No posting your own photos or videos of sports matches. Only the organizers of sports matches will have the right to publicly post any kind of record of the match. No posting your selfies or short videos of exciting plays. You are the audience. Your job is to sit where you're told, passively watch the game, and go home, according to the EFF. Also, a freedom of panorama exemption wasn't accepted. For example, if you take a selfie on a busy street and licensed material happens to be in your shot, whether it's a t-shirt, a licensed architectural design, aka a building, or a billboard, you will be infringing on a copyright. Also not covered. Anything we regard in America as fair use. No user-generated content exemption, which would have made EU states carve out an exception to copyright for using excerpts from works for criticism, review, illustration, caricature, parody, or pastiche.
EU Army to increase ranks 7-fold. I remember 10 years ago saying there's a secret plan for an EU Army because it had actually come out in documents. It actually gotten documents from someone inside Bilderberg. They were discussing an EU Army to stop countries from having their own borders, and they were going to flood Europe with North Africans and Islamists out of the Middle East. It's all true. It all happened. Of course, it was real documents we got. Then a guy who works at the National Archives brought me secret Bilderberg documents the next year confirming it all. We published them all. I did get death threats. Now, but Juncker when you look at the unelected head of the EU that England didn't vote to enter, but they're in, the UK, he is the grandson. His father was a top Nazi. His grandfather was the richest guy in Germany. All right, folks, we'll be back. The full John Bound report is on Infowars.com. EU internet killing legislation. It's really important. We'll be back with Eric Bolling confronted with 9/11 truth. Stay with us. Ladies and gentlemen, we had formerly with Fox News, Eric Bolling, economist, good friends with Trump, now with CRTV. We had Eric Bolling in studio. And he was going to come on about the economy and about how Trump's ideology is making America great, standing up to big corporate bullies. Instead of the media saying he has no soul, but Bolling wanted to virtue signal to the mainstream media and say, aren't you all right? They're racist. And I'm like, that's a Hillary Clinton talking point. And, oh, you think the government did 9/11? And I'm like, yeah, the 28 pages, criminal elements of our government, allied with Saudi Arabia, stood down. I've had Senator Paul on. I've had Congressman Jones on. I've had former deputy directors and former heads of PSYOP of the CIA on. This is a well-known animal. Doesn't mean radical Islam doesn't exist. And he just was like, no, I can't believe it. You know, there were real people down there. Yeah, we know real people died. Real planes flew in. All I'm saying is if you go look at the evidence of Building 7 or of BBC and CNN reporting they were going to blow up Building 7, 47-story building. That happened. Later, they said it never happened. So the point is it needs to be investigated. And it turns out within days of the event on 3 different shows, then real estate mogul, now President Trump, said he thought there were bombs in the buildings, and his engineer who helped build the World Trade Center thought that. So Bolling was here, and I would mention this. He goes, oh, you don't have the clip. You know, I don't want to just hear it. Well, guess what? Now we have the clips. And here it is, ladies and gentlemen. Here is the report. I get blamed for every conspiracy theory that some crazy person made up.
I said I do not agree with you that the U.S. government, someone inside the government, had knowledge of the terror attack prior to the attack.
Oh, really? All over Twitter yesterday, mainline leftist sites celebrated and said America deserved it. Reality Winner had a top secret security clearance and was helping ISIS. There are so many. The average professor at UT down the street loves 9/11 and says America deserved it. There were elements in our government allied with radical Islam that helped them carry out the attack. Just like they're covering up New Mexico.
Alex, you can argue whether or not America deserved it or not. I don't think
America deserved it. I'm saying the left is cheerleading it.
Wasn't your theory, Alex. Your theory was not only did America not deserve it, but the United States government knew about the attack prior to the attack and decided to stand down. A very different theory.
I don't want to spend all our time on 9/11. It's not that I'm running away from it. It's that the media misrepresents what I say about it. I believe Islamic terror and radical Islam is one of the #1 threats on the planet, probably #1. I know that there are criminals in our government like Brennan, who reportedly converted to Wahhabism. Obama helped launch the Arab Spring to overthrow our allies in Egypt, you name it. And I think that elements let this happen, like PNAC wrote, to let there be an attack to end up taking our liberties away. And I've got FBI was warned about flight schools. That's CBS News. FBI knew al-Qaeda pilots were training in the U.S. ordered to stand down. ABC News. State Department lapses aided 9/11 hijackers. And they had the airlifts of evil flying tens of thousands of al-Qaeda fighters out. Our military was ordered to do it. I don't blame our military. They was, oh, you hate our military. No, I love our military.
The bin Laden family was whisked out of the United States by President Bush himself right after the 9/11 attack. And they went back to Saudi Arabia, correct?
That's right. When you had the World Trade Center go, people were put into planes that were friends, family, girlfriends, and they were put into planes and they were sent back for the most part to Saudi Arabia.
All I'm saying is there is a radical Islamic alliance with the left, and there are people in the government working to protect Islam. They got this imam that's connected to dozens of bombings. After 6 months, he's being released from British prison next week.
Well, you said some things that I agree with. I believe radical Islam is the greatest threat to the United States, our freedom, maybe even the globe. I'll agree with that.
Maybe the left's bigger, though.
Well, I think the left is a different type of threat, and it's a longer term threat where, radical Islam could, kill a lot of people real fast. And the left, it's going to take a while for them to take over and take away our liberties and freedoms.
But I think we can deal with a straight on attack like radical Islam. It's the left creeping around.
I don't like them either. I'm on board with that.
Well, this is video on screen of them saying Building 7 has already fallen. Have you seen that video? And it's right behind her.
Well, I can't hear her.
You want me to play it for you?
What? I'd like to hear her say it's already fallen. And by the way, you know, Alex, anyone could throw a video, the picture behind it, a news person. That could be.
Well, she's saying Building 7 has fallen. They put the story out beforehand.
Now, more on the latest building collapse in New York. You might have heard a few moments ago, I was talking about the Salomon Brothers building collapsing. And indeed it has. Jane, what more can you tell us about the Salomon Brothers building and its collapse?
Well, only really what you already know. The details are very, very sketchy.
We are getting information now that one of the other buildings, Building 7, in the World Trade Center complex, is on fire and has either collapsed or is collapsing.
It was almost as if it were a planned implosion. It just pancaked.
Well, pancaking almost like a precision implosion.
It's reminiscent of those pictures we've all seen too much on television before, when a building was deliberately destroyed by well-placed dynamite to knock it down.
Donald Trump is on the line. I mean, we know him as the man behind lots of real estate in Manhattan. And of course, Donald, I understand you were actually a witness to what happened this morning.
Well, I have a window that looks directly at the World Trade Center, and I saw this huge explosion. I was with a group of people, and I really couldn't even believe it. And even, I think, worse than that, for years I've looked right directly at the building. I'd see the Empire State Building in the foreground and the World Trade Center in the background, and now I'm looking at absolutely nothing. It's just gone. You know, the World Trade Center was always known as a very, very strong building. Don't forget, that took a big bomb in the basement. Now, the basement is the most vulnerable place because that's your foundation. This was an unbelievably powerful building. If you know anything about structure, it was one of the first buildings that was built from the outside. The steel, the reason the World Trade Center had such narrow windows is that in between all the windows, you had the steel on the outside. So you had the steel on the outside of the building. That's why when I first looked, and you had big, heavy I-beams, when I first looked at it, I couldn't believe it because there was a hole in the steel. And this is steel that was, you remember the width of the windows in the World Trade Center, folks. I think you know, if you were ever up there, they were quite narrow. And in between was this heavy steel. I said, how could a plane, even a 767 or 747 or whatever it might have been, how could it possibly go through the steel? I happen to think that they had not only a plane, but they had bombs that exploded almost simultaneously, because I just can't imagine anything being able to go through that wall. Most buildings are built with the steel is on the inside around the elevator shaft. This one was built from the outside, which is the strongest structure you can have. And it was almost just like a can of soup. I just think that it was a plane with more than just fuel. I think it just seemed to me that to do that kind of destruction is even more than a big plane, because you're talking about taking out steel, the heaviest caliber steel that was used on a building. I mean, these buildings were rock solid.
So I said the exact same things back at the time. It was on local news, there were bombs in the buildings. And then the media would say, Jones says the fire department blew it up. Or Jones says the military did. Never said that. I said, I saw the news. I heard the news. They said they blew it up. And then you had John O'Neill, the deputy head of the FBI, quit a month before 9/11. And he came out and said, we're going to let Al-Qaeda attack us. Al-Qaeda has infiltrated our government. And it's wrong what happened, and we need to expose it. And then he died. His first day at work was 9/11 as the head of security of the World Trade Center. And I've got the footage of the local police saying, get back, they're going to blow it up. Doesn't mean the police are involved. I talked to cops that were there during the 10-second countdown. But I don't just have that. I found the cops who were on PBS getting the countdown for Building 7. And they blew up other buildings too. And all the chaos, they're told, oh, we're going to protect these buildings. It takes days, if not weeks, to wire these buildings. Do I know what happened? No, I don't. Just like President Trump doesn't. I covered it. I was on air. I'm not going to lie to you. Now, Eric Bolling said, hey, show me the clips. Eric, we just showed you the clips. So this is a live show, but later we'll cut this out. We'll archive it to Infowars.com and Newswars.com to our own video feeds, because we're censored on YouTube. And we will send this out to Eric Bolling. But you aren't banned from YouTube. You can upload this segment to YouTube, and I hope you do. Don't forget Infowars.com/show, where you can bypass the censors and go directly there and subscribe for free the podcast of the live shows and find the live audio feeds. All right, Roger Stone riding shotgun with his former head of the Trump campaign. Mueller sharks circling him. Manafort agreeing to plea bargain, but not on Russiagate, on tax evasion 15 years ago. But everybody is ready to blow their brains out of there about Russiagate. The reason Roger's here is to get into Matt Drudge, who's got a smart political brain on his shoulders, warns of midterm bloodbath. Trump to lose 60 seats in the House like Obama did unless. But he cryptically didn't say what unless meant. And then, California professor, writer of controversial Brett Kavanaugh letter, speaks out about her allegation of sexual assault. Never told anybody till 2012, and she just said a group of frat boys were drunk and jumped on top of me for a few seconds in a bed. I think a group of frat boys beat me up a couple times, but he actually was Brett. In fact, I'm not a secret source. Brett Kavanaugh in 1986 came to Dallas, Texas, and I was in high school, and he raped me. No, I'm serious. He came in the room, it was him. He punched me right in the nose, and he raped me. And that's it. He can't be confirmed. In fact, he then opened up a black suitcase, and 14 Keebler elves came out. You're thinking, hey, they're not scary, they're little. Listen, they were dangerous. They tied me down like Lilliputians in Gulliver's Travels, and they made me take DMT and PCP. And then, once I was doing that, Barack Obama flew in like a little winged pig and landed at the foot of my bed. No, I'm being sarcastic here, ladies and gentlemen. I could say secret source says that Hillary Clinton tells the truth, and you know it was a lie. I mean, this is so obvious. At least Anita Hill worked for Clarence Thomas. But then they all the witnesses of her throwing herself at him. And then it never happened. So we're going to get into that with Roger before we end this segment as well. But Roger, the big enchilada first, Joe Biden, maybe we should keep the first 20 seconds of that clip, says that Trump supporters are the dregs of society. So if deplorables hurt Hillary, this has got to hurt Joe Biden.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Biden is the world's class example of elitism. He lives in Greenville, Delaware, the wealthiest part of town, yet he tries to pass himself off as just good old regular Joe. This is a guy whose son, Hunter, got extraordinarily lucrative business deals out of both Ukraine and China in the immediate aftermath of his visiting both countries with his vice presidential father. You want to talk about collusion? I mean, Joe Biden is about as tone deaf as you can get. And this constant disparagement of Donald Trump supporters because they're working class people, because they didn't go to Harvard or Yale is really part and parcel of the elitism of the Democratic Party and people like Biden. More importantly, though, why he can't keep his hands off of children, I just don't understand.
Oh, there's hours of video, but that doesn't matter because Brett Kavanaugh raped me. Seriously, I'm going to put the headline out. Did you know he raped me?
This whole thing, this is a woman looking for her Anita Hill moment. This is her 15 minutes. Joe Biden is really one creepy guy. It's interesting because when I was in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware last week, Joe trawls up and down Rehoboth Avenue looking for adoration. He wants people to adore him. He has in the back of his mind that he's a Kennedy, whereas in truth, every single foreign policy issue he dealt with as chairman of the Senate Foreign Policy Committee, he was wrong.
No, he did a terrible job. But just getting back to this liberal professor had said that once at a party in high school, some drunk guys jumped on her for 5 seconds, and then that was it. And then now she says it's Kavanaugh. Well, I want to be clear. Kavanaugh raped me.
It's about as credible. I mean, first of all, what evidence does this woman produce? Is there another witness to this alleged assault? This is a last-ditch desperation attempt to derail what is almost certainly going to be another conservative Supreme Court justice racked up by Donald.
Well, I was about to say, I mean, this is the most classic thing ever, where you just get any leftist out of millions of people just to make something up, and then to get your husband to say, oh yeah, she told me about it 6 years ago, and then it's a done deal. This is crazy.
Well, and the performance of Cory Booker really takes the cake. I'll be honest with you. I was working on a book on Cory Booker called The Moth. That's a name given to him by Governor Chris Christie because, like a moth, he flies to every controversy with a press release, but he never actually does anything. Cory Booker is an incredibly corrupt public servant, and I have a book coming out shortly on Cory Booker that will expose all of that. I was ready to leave him alone because he's a non-entity and he's not going to be president, but now I think I have no choice.
Well, let's get to that last point, though. What do you make of Drudge saying we could lose 60 seats? Well, just because the polls showed Obama at the same point 2 years in as Trump, those are fake polls. Plus, there's this the Trump secret that a lot of folks don't want to admit they support Trump. Now they have the illegal and the dead people voting. That's their secret. So that's why we still have a chance of losing, but only because of election fraud.
Well, I got to tell you, Alex, I'm more with Matt Drudge on this, including, importantly, the word unless. The president has not framed this election. He's too busy dickering with the New York Times over their phony anonymous op-ed. He's too busy fighting over...
No, I agree. He needs to stop giving their distractions attention. So what is the unless? What does President Trump need to do right now? He needs to say they're trying to overturn the election. They're trying to kill the recovery. They're the ones in league with the Russians and others. They're allied with radical Islam. They're the frauds. He needs to get on the super offense and stir Republicans up to do the same, right?
Declassify all of the information pertaining to the FISA warrant. The way to counter the phony Russian collusion fraud is to show who was cheating in 2016. It wasn't Donald Trump and the Republicans. It was Hillary Clinton and the Obama Justice Department and FBI. Mr. President, we implore you, declassify the information pertaining to the FISA warrants. When your advisors say, we can't do that, sir, it's a matter of national security, that's a lie, a damnable lie.
Well, the matter of national security is not letting this rogue group of angry Democrats overturn the election of the American people and kill our recovery. He's got to release it now. They're not going to stop.
Right. Two messages for the election. One, talk about the economic recovery and how great it is, because the mainstream media will not talk about that, even though I think people are feeling it. And two, get the Democrats on defense by declassifying all of the information pertaining to the spying on Donald Trump's campaign.
Yeah, he says he won't fire Sessions till after the election. I think that's a mistake.
Well, I agree, but we're probably past that now. So tout the economy and declassify the spying information, and you will change the whole scope of this election.
And the other unless is this, Roger. All of us got to get people to vote. We got to be politically active. We can't be asleep thinking this thing is won because they got a bunch of dead people and a bunch of illegal aliens set to vote and major election fraud with half the machines owned by George Soros. Newswars.com. Tomorrow's News Today. Roger takes over.
Welcome back. You're on the Alex Jones Show on our very special Sunday night broadcast. With so much news breaking in Washington, these late evening reports from InfoWars are really indispensable. But people need to understand that InfoWars is threatened as never before. There's a veritable war of censorship being waged against Alex Jones and the entire team here at InfoWars. You see, this is the precursor to an effort to take Donald Trump down. We saw the seeds of it in the phony but serious New York Times editorial where they talked about a 25th Amendment play to remove the president. If you've been following InfoWars, you know that we've been reporting about this literally for 8 months. The 25th Amendment is a constitutional amendment that requires that if the vice president and a majority of the president's chosen cabinet seek to remove him, well, he has two choices. He can then go quietly, or he can appeal that decision to the U.S. House of Representatives, currently under control of Paul Ryan. The point, of course, is that we at InfoWars are bringing you this story, and no one else is. That's why we need your loyal support at the Infowars.com store right now. One of my very favorite products is on sale, and that's X2. This is the best natural iodine formula that you can buy. Now, there's a big difference between Survival Shield, X2, and the other iodine products that you can buy at, say, Whole Foods or even CVS or Fresh Market. And that is this. Alex Jones goes to enormous lengths and expense to get the very best natural nascent iodine on the face of the planet. And we have a more gentle price. What was normally $39.95 is $29.95. I was in Whole Foods yesterday. You'll pay $42 for their inferior iodine product. And volume-wise, you actually get more by buying at InfoWars. Nascent iodine is absolutely necessary to torque up your defenses. Your immune system has been used all the way back to the Egyptians for this purpose. So by going to the Infowars.com site now and taking advantage of this particular product, and when teamed with other great products, stacking as we call it, it's a 360 win. You're getting in the BioTrue Selenium Survival Shield Survival Pack, not only the best nascent iodine and selenium together, which help for healthy thyroid and overall beneficial to your well-being and health, but you're helping us fund the fight against the globalist censors who would shut us down. People don't understand the enormous expense of these harassment lawsuits that have been filed against Alex Jones and InfoWars. Oh, Alex Jones says nobody died at Sandy Hook. No, he didn't. That's not what he said. And anybody who could look at the actual broadcast would know that. But lo and behold, the tech left, the Facebooks, the Twitters, the YouTubes, they've removed them so they can't even be examined, which means Alex Jones is not afforded the opportunity to defend himself with truth. That's why we need you to go now to the Infowars.com site and give us your support. We're not crying wolf. We're not just churning to sell product. We are up against it as never before. While you're there, two products I highly recommend. One, Brain Force Plus, one of my personal favorites, on special now for $29.95. That's a $10 reduction. Almost 6,000 satisfied testimonials. I popped a couple of these an hour ago. That's why I can do this show while working all day, trying to finalize what will be an exciting product available on the Infowars.com store shortly. Let me talk about that. Donald Trump has had an incoming assault from Bob Woodward. Now, if you believe the mainstream media, Bob Woodward is the second coming of Christ. This man never makes a mistake. He's a crusading journalist. He is the voice of reason and truth, along with his Sancho Panza, Carl Bernstein. This is the dynamic duo of duplicity. And my book, along with Tyler Nixon, Woodward and Bernstein, the godfathers of fake news, breaks down their long history of lies and fraud. That's right. This book will be available on the Infowars.com store and elsewhere in the next 24 hours. We've kept it under wraps, but this I can tell you. Woodward lies about Watergate. Woodward lies about his personal background as a naval intelligence briefer for the Nixon White House. Who says so? The chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Admiral Thomas Moorer. Who else says so? The Secretary of Defense, Melvin Laird. But it gets worse. Woodward lied about Iran-Contra, claiming that he surreptitiously slipped into the hospital room of former CIA Director Bill Casey after Casey had been felled by a stroke, and that Casey confessed everything, and that Casey spoke of his disdain for Ronald Reagan. I knew Bill Casey. I knew Ronald Reagan. Bill Casey loved Ronald Reagan and revered him as one of our greatest outsider presidents. But here's the real rub. Not only does hospital security and military security tell us that Woodward never gained access to Casey's room, but Casey, because of his stroke, had lost the capacity for speech. And therefore, it was impossible for Casey to tell Woodward this alleged exclusive interview in which he confessed all of Iran-Contra. And then there's the John Belushi controversy. Woodward wrote a book about the beloved comedian John Belushi. My favorite part of our upcoming book is when Al Franken, yes, that Al Franken, sees that Bob Woodward is in Saturday Night Live producer Lorne Michaels' office digging on dirt on John Belushi. Franken strolls in and says to both of them, yeah, the only time I ever saw Belushi snorting coke, he's with Carl Bernstein. That's the kind of truth you're going to get from our new book, Woodward and Bernstein, the godfathers of fake news. And there's so much more. Numerous members of the Washington Post staff saying there was no deep throat. It's a confection, a fraud, a made-up source. So the establishment icons, Woodward and Bernstein, are about to be, shall I say, exposed. And you'll get it first here at InfoWars. In the meantime, to make sure that we can continue expanding, continue fighting, continue our fight for truth and to expose not only the truth about 9/11, but the truth about the assault on Donald Trump, for which they are trying so desperately to censor us, go to the Infowars.com store now. Pick up one of my favorite products, Stone's Rules, my new book, which is the guideline, the field manual for victory against the left. Yes, every rule you need to know is in there for success, whether you choose business, politics, tech, fashion, agriculture, it doesn't matter. These are the rules for success. And there's a very, very good price for the book if you buy it at the Infowars.com store now. So help us, help yourself, help Alex Jones in the fight against censorship, because they just keep coming. And while you're at it, folks, go to the Infowars.com site now and sign up for our podcasts, because the chain of command must be unbroken. Millions of people are signing up to get every day, and we want you not to lose our signal or our message of truth. Welcome back. You're on the Alex Jones Show, and I'm your host, Roger Stone, sitting in for the great Alex Jones. In the last segment, we talked about Bob Woodward and his partner, Carl Bernstein, but our focus was on the lies of Woodward, lying about Watergate, lying about Deep Throat, who doesn't really exist other than as a composite of sources, lying about Iran-Contra, lying about President Ronald Reagan, lying about former CIA Director Bill Casey, the last real patriot to hold that job, lying about the comedian John Belushi, and now lying about President Donald Trump. But what of his partner, Carl Bernstein? Well, Carl Bernstein stepped in it only last week. You see, Bernstein went forward with a breathless report on CNN saying that Michael Cohen, the former attorney for Donald Trump, would testify to federal prosecutors, including presumably Robert Mueller, that President Donald Trump knew in advance about the controversial Trump Tower meeting between Donald Trump Jr. and a Russian lawyer. Well, we now know that that meeting was A, not illegal, and B, more likely a setup, because the lawyer who met with Donald Trump Jr. Was briefed both before and after the meeting by officials from Fusion GPS, and we still don't know for a certainty what kind of visa the woman Russian lawyer got into the country on. Now, it quickly became clear when Bernstein reported this story and said that the Lanny Davis, the attorney for the Clintons, now representing Cohn, was not his source. Davis undercut him by saying, A, he was the source, and B, he was mistaken. Fair enough. You would think that a real journalist would then go to the air and apologize and retract and correct. Well, that's the difference between CNN and Carl Bernstein and we here at InfoWars. Case in point, I reported almost 10 days ago, incorrectly as it turns out, that Robert Mueller was seeking to indict Donald Trump Jr. for lying to the FBI about the Trump Tower meeting. I now know and want to report that that report was incorrect, that in fact the FBI, contrary to what my two sources told me, have not interviewed Donald Trump Jr. However, Donald Trump Jr. is in Mr. Mueller's crosshairs, not for anything relating, as far as we know, to the Trump Tower meeting, because the payments to Michael Cohen to reimburse Michael Cohen from Donald Trump's personal trust fund had to be signed off by a second executive who was an executor of that fund. That is likely to be Donald Trump Jr. I don't believe there's anything illegal or improper because the payment to Cohen, if it was indeed a reimbursement and a political expenditure, would mean that the president is allowed to contribute to his own campaign without limitation. Consequently, this would be, at a minimum, a crime of failure to report a contribution, usually a $1,000 fine. So, my apologies to Donald Trump Jr. I was incorrect. It doesn't mean that he's not in the special counsel's crosshairs, but he's not in their crosshairs for lying to the FBI. My sources were incorrect. I have now corrected it. That's the difference between InfoWars and CNN. When we make an honest mistake based on our research, we come forward and tell you. So we've issued a retraction and an apology while still stressing that Donald Trump Jr., a great patriot, a good man, in my opinion, reminds me of the old Donald Trump who was, when he was a candidate, is still very much in Mr. Mueller's crosshairs. I wanted to get that off my chest because it's important. Truth and accuracy is important. That's what you get here at InfoWars. But make no mistake about it. When Donald Trump came out last week and said that it was necessary to take a close look at the tech giants who have, without any dispute, been limiting the voices of conservatives and Republicans and Trump supporters, using Alex Jones as the test case, he hit it right on the head. Believe me, if Alex Jones had not raised hell, had not brought this issue to the public consciousness, the president would never have done that fateful Google search in which he figured out, to his surprise, that the top 10 stories about Donald Trump were uniformly negative. This is the greatest single challenge the movement faces. Donald Trump could not possibly have won the 2016 election without a robust, vibrant alternative media. And let's face it, Donald Trump plays Twitter like a fiddle. The more the left foams and says he needs to stop tweeting, the more I'm delighted and I enjoy every one of his entirely unfiltered tweets. But we need to be clear. If the left's campaign of censorship, if their efforts to strangle the First Amendment rights, first of Alex Jones, but then of everybody who questions the mainstream media narrative of lies, is successful, there will be no chances of victory in the 2018 election. There will be no chances of victory in the 2020 election. This is the single most important fight before us. You can argue about tax issues or immigration issues or trade issues, all of the other vital issues that face the country. But if we have no voice, if our voice is removed, then there is zero chance of victory. The one patriot who has had no a lack of courage in talking about this issue is our friend Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson's had quite a week. First of all, tangling with Mike Avenatti, the dirty tricks porno lawyer, and then taking it to Jeff Toobin, the CNN legal analyst, who every other word out of his mouth is racism, racist, racism. What a joke. So here's a shout out to Tucker Carlson, because he's been